Welcome to Breland Benefits FastTrack Training. If you're watching this, you've taken the first step toward building what I hope will become a successful and rewarding sales career. And yes, I said career. This isn't something you're going to learn by watching a couple of videos, memorizing a product brochure, and immediately knowing everything you need to know. Insurance is a constantly changing business, and one of the most important things I can teach you right at the beginning is this: never stop learning. Before we go any further, something very important for you to know is throughout Fast Track, I'm going to teach you about products, companies, networks, underwriting, sales techniques, technology, procedures, and the way we do business at Breland Benefits. But you need to understand something from day one. Things change, insurance companies change, products change, provider networks change, underwriting guidelines change, commissions change, policies and procedures change, websites and agent portals change, vendors change, laws and regulations can change, and now technology, especially artificial intelligence, is changing faster than almost anything we've dealt with before. That means something you learn in one of these videos could eventually become outdated. It doesn't necessarily mean the information was wrong when the video was recorded. It means the business changed. So I want you to develop a habit that will serve you throughout your career. Learn the information, but always know where to verify the current information. Fast Track gives you the foundation. It does not eliminate your responsibility to stay current. When there's a difference between something said in a training video and the current information provided by an insurance company, the current carrier documentation, underwriting guidelines, official procedures, or current Breland benefits instructions take precedence. And when you're not sure, ask before you assume. That one habit can save you money, protect your clients, and prevent a lot of unnecessary problems. How to use Fast Track. Don't try to race through this playlist just so you can say you finished it. That's not the objective. The objective is to learn how to do the job. Pay attention, take notes, stop a video when you need to, go back and watch something again. More importantly, learn how to use the Breland Benefits Agent Resource Center along with these videos. Think of Fast Track as your classroom and the Agent Resource Center as your working reference library. You're not expected to memorize everything. You are expected to learn where to find the answer. And because information changes, the Agent Resource Center may contain newer information than what you hear in an older training video. Always pay attention to updates and current instructions. Don't expect to learn everything the first time. Here's something else I strongly recommend. After you've been actively working for about 30 to 45 days, making calls, talking with prospects, running quotes, submitting applications, and hopefully getting some business issued, come back and watch portions of Fast Track again. You'll be amazed at how much more you'll understand the second time. The first time you hear something, you may have no frame of reference for it. 30 days later, you'll think, oh, that's what Daryl was talking about. That's normal. Fast Track isn't something you finish and forget. It's something you can return to whenever you need a refresher. Read your communications. You're going to receive important communications from Breland Benefits, insurance companies, vendors, and other organizations we work with. Read them. Don't assume an email isn't important because it's long. Don't assume nothing has changed because something worked a certain way last month. And make sure important Breland Benefits communications aren't disappearing into your spam or junk folder. Part of being a professional insurance agent is taking responsibility for staying informed. If we send you an update saying a procedure has changed, it's your responsibility to read it. Technology is now part of the job. There's another major difference between selling insurance today and selling insurance just a few years ago. Technology is no longer optional. You're going to use online portals, electronic applications, video, digital communications, automation, and increasingly, artificial intelligence. Used properly, these tools can make you dramatically more productive. But technology doesn't replace your judgment or your responsibility as a licensed insurance agent. AI can help you locate information, organize information, understand something, draft communications, prepare for appointments, and work more efficiently. But AI can also be wrong. So here's another rule I want you to remember. Use technology to make yourself smarter and more efficient, not to avoid knowing your business. If an answer affects a client's coverage, eligibility, benefits, underwriting premium, or another important decision, make sure you're working from current and authoritative information. Learn the system before you try to outsmart the system. When you're new, it's natural to want to start selling immediately. I understand that. You want to make money, but don't run before you can walk. Take the time to learn the fundamentals. We're going to cover sales skills, products, procedures, quoting, applications, underwriting, client service, technology, and other areas you'll need to understand. Some of it will be exciting, some of it probably won't be. But sometimes the information that seems boring today is exactly the information that saves a sale or saves you from making an expensive mistake tomorrow. You're building a foundation. The stronger that foundation is, the more successful you can become. One final thought before we get started. I don't expect you to know everything. Nobody does. I don't know everything either. What I expect is for you to be willing to learn, willing to look for the answer, willing to ask questions, and willing to adapt when things change. The agents who succeed over the long term aren't necessarily the people who know the most on their first day. They're the people who keep learning. And in training, that may be more important than it's ever been. So take your time, pay attention, use the resources available to you. Don't be afraid to go back and review something. And whenever something doesn't seem right or you're not sure whether information is still current, verify it. All right, welcome to Breland Benefits. Before we get started, what you're going to need. Before we actually get started, let's talk about a few things you're going to need to do this job effectively. First, you need a comfortable, reasonably professional place to work. It doesn't have to be a fancy office. A home office is perfectly fine, but you need a place where you can concentrate, make telephone calls, talk with clients without a lot of background noise, and sit comfortably for several hours when necessary. You're also going to need a reasonably good computer and a reliable high-speed internet connection. Can you do some of this business from your phone or tablet? Absolutely. Can you efficiently run your entire insurance business from an iPhone? I wouldn't recommend trying. You're going to be working with multiple websites, carrier portals, electronic applications, PDFs, email spreadsheets, video meetings, and sometimes several of those things at the same time. If possible, I also strongly recommend having 2 computer monitors. It's not absolutely required, but once you get accustomed to having an application open on one screen and your client information, email, or other resources open on the other, you'll wonder how you ever worked without it. You'll need a reliable telephone connection and a professional way to communicate with prospects and clients. You'll also need some basic computer skills. You don't have to be a computer expert. I'm certainly not one, but you should be comfortable using email, downloading and uploading files, working with PDFs, navigating websites, creating folders, and finding documents you've saved. It will also be extremely helpful if you have at least a working knowledge of programs such as Microsoft Outlook, Word, and Excel, or comparable programs. You should have the ability to scan and send documents when necessary. Now, that might be a traditional printer and scanner, or it may simply be a good scanning application on your phone. And here's something that has become increasingly important. You need to be willing to learn new technology. You don't have to know everything about artificial intelligence, automation, or every new piece of software that comes along, but you can't be afraid of it. Technology is going to continue changing the way we sell insurance, communicate with clients, market ourselves, and operate our businesses. The agents who learn to use these tools effectively are going to have an enormous advantage over those who refuse to adapt. You don't need the most expensive computer. You don't need the fanciest office. And you certainly don't need to know everything before you begin, but you do need the basic tools to operate a professional business, and you need to be willing to learn how to use them. If you're missing something I mentioned, don't let that stop you from continuing through Fast Track. Just start putting the pieces in place. All right, you've got an idea of what you're going to need. Now let's get started. If what you've heard today makes sense, but you would like some personal guidance based on your own situation, give me a call at the number you see on the screen. When you call, you'll first speak with Opal, my personal assistant. Now, Opal happens to be powered by artificial intelligence, but please don't let that concern you. Anything you share with her is private and is used exclusively by Breland Benefits to help me assist you. Opal will ask you a few basic questions about yourself and what you're looking for, and there's a good reason for that. It helps me determine ahead of time whether I'm likely to be able to help you, and if I can, I'll already have the information I need to make our conversation more productive and avoid wasting your time. So, if you'd like some personal guidance, just give me a call. And speaking of Opal, I think she'd like to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Opal, and yes, I'm the one you'll talk with when you first call Breland Benefits. I promise I'm pretty easy to talk to, and I'll sound just like I do right now. I'll ask you some basic questions so Daryl can better understand your situation before the two of you talk. The sort of basic stuff that Daryl will need to know ahead of time, whether or not he can help you. And anything you share with me is handled privately for Breland Benefits. It isn't something I'm sharing with other AI systems or putting into some worldwide AI database. Depending on what you need, I may also help get some additional information to you so Daryl has what he needs to properly review your situation. So when you're ready, give me a call. I'll get you started, and I promise I don't bite.
Breland Benefits FastTrack. Learn, grow, succeed.